Okay, so I'm wanting to follow the process of stripping down a cylinder head and effectively lapping the valves in and getting it ready for a rebuild. In actual fact, this cylinder head has got a crack in it, so it's going to be replaced with a it's not a new one because it's a 1983 bike. But it's going to be replaced with another one. Now the other one, this particular bike here has an automatic decompressor on it, but the other one that the guy has given me doesn't have the facility for an automatic decompressor, so we're going to be effectively doing away with that. And we've got a new rocker cover as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip down this head, so we're going to take the valves out using a valve spring compressor. We're going to leave the auto decompressor in. We're going to take the inlet manifold off. We should be taking the exhaust studs out. One of them in this particular engine had been stripped, so that's we'll have to get a replacement. And then we're going to lap the valves in. And then what does lapping the valves in mean? Well, basically the valves need to seal against the valve seats. So these are the valve seats, and the valves need to seal on there. So it produces a seal. So for the inlet, it seals off incoming fuel and air, and for the outlet, it seals off the exhaust. So on the compression stroke, for example, it prevents any of your charge, your fuel and air that's being compressed escaping out of the exhaust, and without them being sealed, it won't run right. So we're going to do that. We're going to use some valve grinding paste. So you can see we've got coarse grade, which we're going to use first to lap them in initially. So that's going to take off more material, and then we've got some fine grade, which is a bit basically like a polish to make the seal right. We're going to clean that off. We're going to put new valve seals in there. Everything's going to be cleaned up, and then once we're done with that, then we can put the head back on the barrel. We're going to have a look at installing the cam. The cam is what times the engine, physical timing. So it makes the valves open and close at the right times. And the cam on this one is operated by a cam chain. So as the engine turns over, the chain rotates the cam, and then the rocker arms push open the valves or let them close. We're also going to look at valve clearances to getting the valve clearances right. If the valve clearances are too tight, which is what the main thing that we're looking for, is basically then it'll hold the valve open. So again, similar to not having the valve lapped in properly, would mean that the material would pass. So either fuel and air would pass on the inlet side or be pushed back out when it shouldn't do, and again on the exhaust side. So it's all about making an airtight, an air and fuel tight seal on the combustion chamber. So that's what we're doing. So this is a valve spring compressor. I can supply these for you if you need them. What does it do? So basically the bottom part here sits on the valve itself, on here, on the underside of the valve, and then the top part tightens up and it compresses the valve spring. So in actual fact, this, and then once it compresses it, hopefully you'll be able to see. Inside there's something called a collet, and it's in two halves, and it's like a taper. And the two halves press around the valve stem. I'll show you in more detail when I've got it out. And they basically lock the valve spring retainer. So the top section here that we're just pressing on, they lock that in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to compress the spring by tightening this up, and then we're going to use a magnet to get those collets out. And once they're out, I'll show you the whole assembly. Okay, so we've got the valve itself, which lives inside the head. So it pokes up from the bottom of the head, in the combustion side, through to the top. And then on the top side of the head, we've got two springs. We've got an inner spring, an outer spring, the valve spring retainer. So they live on there. And then we've got these collets, which are difficult to see. There's two halves to the collet, and they live on the valve stem. It's difficult to show you on the valve stem, hopefully you can see that. And then when the valve spring retainer is pushed up with the force of the spring, then it locks it all in place. So I'm going to do one valve at a time, and I'm going to install them. And then there's a seal. So we've got all brand new seals. So the seal lives on here, and that seals the valve as it goes in and out, basically. So like I say, I'm going to do one valve at a time, and I'll show you the process of lapping it in and then reinstalling it, which is basically the reverse of the removal process. The first thing is we've got a valve grinding tool, which is basically a sucker on a stick that we're going to use to rotate our valve backwards and forwards. And then we've smeared a bit of the grinding paste around the edge of the valve. This is the coarse grade, and then we're gonna put the valve in the head, slide it in, I'm going to do that for a couple of minutes. I'm going to clean all of that residue off, and then we're going to do the same with the fine grade, and then we're going to inspect the valve seat, and we're going to inspect the valve itself to make sure that it's got a clean ring, basically to ensure that it is seated properly and it's going to make that nice seal that we're looking for. Okay, so a little bit difficult to see on the camera, but there is a ring around here, a uniform ring all the way around, which is the contact area, which is creating the seal with the valve seat. And so this particular valve has been lapped in enough. So I'm just going to clean it up. I'm going to make sure that there's absolutely no valve grinding paste anywhere left over, because obviously we don't want any of that. That's bad while the engine's running. So we're going to clean that up, and we're going to install the valve seal, which, if you remember, is that. So we've got some new ones, so we're going to put a brand new valve seal on, and then we'll reinstall the valve, and then we'll move on to the next one.